Congratulations. What can you tell us about your character Recorder Theo in the context of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Guardians of the Galaxy world? And is he a mad scientist, as some have described him?
Yes. So I play a character named Recorder Theo, who is sort of one of the High Evolutionary's henchmen. The High Evolutionary is the big villain in the third Guardians of the Galaxy movie. And yes, so I play sort of this evil henchman, evil scientist that does his bidding. And it's a really different character for me to play. I play a very evil person, and I think I've been getting a lot of messages from strangers and friends and family who's just like, I hate you so much because they've never seen me be so evil. So, but I guess if they hated me that much, that means I did my job well.
That's right. So let's talk about your costume and then hair and makeup. Let's
Mhm.
tackle the costume first. How much fun did you have wearing that white costume? And also, how long did it take for the makeup and hair to be put on you?
The costumes were amazing. I have a background in costume design for theater, so it's part of the process that I enjoy and look forward to whenever I step into a new production. So during my first fitting, um, yeah, I was speaking with a costume designer, and she was like, "Have you seen renderings of what you're going to look like?" And I was like, "I had no idea. All I knew was the name of my character and that he was sort of a bad guy and all this stuff." And at that first fitting, when she showed me the rendering, I really was like, "Oh my God!" Everything started to click for me. How I wanted the character to be portrayed. It just for me, costumes and the makeup just inform so much about how you're going to portray your characters. So I really, really enjoy that process. And with the makeup and the prosthetics and stuff like that, that was this whole nother amazing process as well, because they have to put you in a cast. And so you're put in this sort of really claustrophobic, goo, and then you have to sit there for like an hour just to make it so that they have a cast and then they build it around you. But the whole process of getting into the prosthetic and the makeup probably took about 2 to 2.5 hours every day. And it was a really wonderful sort of way to get into character, because usually when you're portraying people, you really sort of like have to work from the inside out to bring the character to life. But with this character, because they're putting it on you piece by piece, and then at the end of that 2 hours, all of a sudden you look like a completely different person. So there's no I don't know, it's just really quick to be able to like transform into that character, because immediately you're like, I don't well, that doesn't look like me. I am a completely different person.
And without giving away spoilers, can you talk about working with Chris Pratt? Let's just say, how was it like hanging on wires with the Chris Pratt?
That day on set was a lot of fun. I knew the scene was coming, um, but I honestly didn't know how we were gonna film the scene, or if I think had naively assumed that it was all gonna be stunt people doing the scene. So when I walked into set, they were like, "Right, we're gonna put you in wires, and here's the harness." And I was like, well, what do you, I'm gonna be on the wires? Like, and I have to put okay. So it took me a second to be like, all right, here we go. Um, but I love experiencing new things, and sort of yeah, being in this environment, and having to sort of tackle the scene was, I don't know, it was a lot of fun, because it's just so different from what I usually do. So it was yeah, I mean, I know I keep saying it was fun, but there's really no other way to describe it. It's like I was sort of just like, I felt like I was like watching myself from the outside, of just like, I can't believe I'm getting paid to be on wires with Chris Pratt right now. It's like insane.
Did Chris offer any advice? Did he try to relax you because it was your first time to be on the harness and wires?
Oh yeah, everybody, not just Chris, but like the entire stunt team. They were really they were really instrumental in sort of making sure that that I was comfortable. When you wear that harness, it goes on your legs, and it's like wearing, it's like it just impedes on all your parts, if you know what I'm saying. So the stunt team and Chris were really good about like, if you just sort of put your weight on this side, then it's not going to hurt us. I'm like, okay, I got it. Thank you for that tip, because I was like, losing oxygen here.
And what was your experience like working with director James Gunn?
It was incredible. James is such a collaborative and welcoming director. Um, you can really tell that he is a fan of this genre, that he's very passionate about the story that he's trying to tell, and everybody just made us feel welcome on set. It's hard to step into these productions. This franchise, they've all been working together for close to 10 years. They all have a shorthand with each other. And so walking into a set like that can be very intimidating. But everybody made us feel welcome. James Gunn especially made us feel like, like no question was too stupid. There were no stupid questions. Whatever we needed for us to be able to achieve the scene more easily, or portray the character more easily, was given to us. It was like being welcome to somebody's home. It really was like such a collaborative and fun process to do.
And can you talk about now being part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, a remarkable step in your journey as a Filipino actor in Hollywood, who began, as you told me in our earlier interview, as flat broke, deep in debt, and sleeping in a friend's couch that turned out to be infested with the bed bugs.
Bed bugs, yes. Oh my God. You know, I am pinching myself every day that this is what my life is right now. I Being in a Marvel movie was one of those things that I wrote in the book when I first moved to Los Angeles, and never in a million years did I think that dream is going to come true. Um, I've felt very lucky in my life and my career that I've been able to be part of already such amazing projects, that being in a Marvel movie was seemed like one of those things that I was like, well, I don't know if it's gonna happen, but it has. And I don't know, it's incredible. I never in a million years, just growing up in the Philippines, watching movies like this at Greenbelt or at Quad, like we grew up watching these sort of like Hollywood movies, and it seemed like such a far away thing to be able to be a part of. And the fact that I am sort of here in the US now, being in a Marvel movie, being part of projects like this, it's no, I'm very grateful, and I don't take it lightly. And I'm just really thankful for the opportunity.
How much do you miss Superstore, and do you miss Mateo Liwanag?
I miss Superstore so much. Oh my gosh. That was Superstore will always hold a very special place in my heart. It was my big break. Um, the cast and crew, I mean, like, we are like family. I love those people so much. Um, if that show went on for 100 seasons, I really would have loved to just be around my friends. I think that's the thing I miss the most, is being able to work with your friends. It's such a wonderful experience. So.
And can you please give us an update on being gay, Asian, and Filipino in Hollywood? Have things improved as far as roles and opportunities are concerned?
Well, I mean, like I was saying earlier, the fight for visibility and diversity isn't a one-shot thing. Just because we were able to make Crazy Rich Asians doesn't mean that we've solved the problem in Hollywood as far as Asian representation. Just because there are movies like, Bros, does not mean we've solved the problem with queer representation in Hollywood. It's always going to be two steps forward, one step back. And I really, really, truly believe that us the real way to create maybe a more permanent change is once there is diversity behind the camera with the executives who have power, with the people who greenlight the projects. Once that structure is more diverse, I think that's when we're going to see real change. Because even now, with all you see all these projects that are quote unquote diverse and and all that, it's still a struggle to get them made. People are still questioning you. People who are not of your experience, white, straight, old men who are sort of like the gatekeepers of this industry are still questioning why this story? Why did you have to tell this story? And until those people are replaced by people who look like us, sound like us, have gone through our experiences, I think that's when the real change is going to be happening.
And speaking of Crazy Rich Asians, there's talk that the Crazy Rich Asians 2 may be filmed in the Philippines, but have you heard about that? And also your two other projects, Happiness for Beginners and the Re-Education of Molly Singer.
I don't know anything about Crazy Rich Asians 2. We are all waiting with bated breath about when we're going to start that. I know the cast and the crew and are just really eager to sort of work together again. And John as well. He also wants to make sure that the script is correct before they move forward with the sequel. But I haven't heard anything about it filming in the Philippines. I hope it does. I would love to go back to the Philippines and work in the Philippines. That would be amazing. As far as my two other projects, I have a Netflix movie coming out called Happiness for Beginners. That's with Ellie Kemper and Luke Grimes. And it's a fun, outdoorsy movie about Ellie Kemper, who is recently divorced and she's sort of attempting to reset her life. And I play one of the people in the hiking group that has to hike the Appalachian Trail with her, who maybe isn't the best at hiking. And Re-Education of Molly Singer is this indie comedy that I filmed with Britt Robertson and Wendy Malick and a slew of other amazing people. And that one is sort of like there was an 80s movie called Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield, and it's sort of along the lines of that story, but with a female protagonist. So, but that was also a lot of fun to make. We just got to sort of improvise a lot in that movie, and it was a blast. Yeah.
And I'd like to follow up with what you said about spending an hour or two in hair and makeup. So how did you spend that time? Did you take a nap or catch up on social media or read?
While I was being in makeup?
Yes.
I mean, there's not much you can do while you're being, because you have to sit a certain way and make sure that your eyes are in a certain spot. And you just sort of have to follow the cues of the incredible visual effects makeup artists that work on you and sort of just like follow their lead of like, all right, hold your breath. We're going to start painting you here and we're going to start putting this on. And, in the beginning, you're sort of just figuring each other out and figuring the process out. So it took a little bit longer. And then, but by the end, by the end of the shoot, we, shaved it down from 2.5 hours to 2 hour and 45 to 2 hours because we were just sort of like in sync with each other. But yeah, there's really nothing much you can do but just sit there and go through the process. You can't really like be on your phone that much.
Yeah, and for my last question, can you talk to us about working with Miriam Shore and Chuck Woody in Wuji? Yeah, excuse me if I mispronounce their names, and also finally Dave Bautista, of course.
Well, Dave and I really only had that one scene, not to give any spoilers, but I didn't have a lot of scenes with them. But we did sort of get to chat a little bit more at a cast dinner after we wrapped. And it was really sort of like, I don't know, we need to have a fellow Filipino, in a project of this size. And also just, just to meet him, this huge Filipino American star, who's done so well for himself. So obviously we have that Filipino pride sort of when we meet another kababayan who's really out here making it. So that was a really fun experience. But working with Miriam and Chuck was incredible. They were my main scene partners in this movie, and I think, especially for me, I had sort of like a set notion of what I wanted to do for my character, and it wasn't until I was on set and acting alongside Chuck and Miriam that the rest of the pieces sort of fell together. Because I mean, I don't know if you've seen the movie, but like Chuck just
Yeah.
gives an incredible performance, and there were multiple times where I had to snap out of it and remind myself that I was like in the scene with Chuck and Miriam, because they were both just really, they're such incredible actors. And yeah, I really just had to be like, you're working right now, make sure you're paying attention, because they were just so great. So it's probably one of my highlights for me was being able to work with the two of them.